It's the Brad and John Show.
John, any comments about our advertisers?
Oh my God, Brad! Why don't you describe what folks who were listening over the air just heard in their car or their radio?
It's a new advertiser.
Why don't you describe it, Brad? You've obviously invested enough time in giving AI prompts to write a PDF. So why don't you tout it?
Actually, that's been out for about 6 months now.
Okay.
Yeah. Seriously, it has. And I just started promoting it. Be a great kisser. Everybody needs to be a great kisser.
It's, Brad, I had a long conversation with someone very special to me yesterday about you. And I've got to let Brad be Brad. And you know what? John can never be Brad, and Brad can never be John. And Brad, I'm happy that in this phase of your life, I'm reminding myself to be happy that you were pursuing the sort of domains and PDFs that make you happy. And what's good for Brad is good for Brad.
John, would you believe I've made money on that already?
And what are you doing with that money?
What am I doing with that?
Yeah.
Like,
do you invest it in radio stations? Do you pay back people you owe money to? What are you doing with the money that comes in?
I'm buying more domains. I mean, what else would I do, right? No, I mean, John, here's the interesting thing. Okay, there's a situation in the radio industry. It happened about 10 years ago when the radio industry sort of looked at itself and said, we can't just be radio stations anymore. And, I get it. I mean, that's the way it's turned. And it's called, the new term, I don't know if it's used as much anymore, but the newfangled term was NTR, non-traditional revenue, okay? The interesting part of this is that, and probably iHeart is the perfect example of this, they have all these radio stations all over the country, okay? They don't sell all the advertising out anymore. It's not like the old days where you had people standing in line, I want to be on your radio station. Sorry, we're sold out. It doesn't happen anymore, okay? So what these smart radio operators have done, if they've taken their inventory, in other words, their advertisements, and they've taken it to promote some of their own products, which they have become vertically integrated. And iHeart is now the number one podcaster in the country, mainly because of the fact that if you listen to any of their stations, every third ad is an ad for one of their stinking podcasts. So in other words...
Yeah, and you do a great job, Brad, when we drive through the Westplex. I love hearing the Westplex 107.1 song. I still think that's the best song that's played on any station. And I get the concept of, I love the fact that you were using the station to promote. And I love the fact that now you play the clips where I'm criticizing you for not promoting our show, and you run those as promos. So, Brad, I completely get the concept of creating new products and promoting them on your station. I'm not criticizing that at all.
There was once a guy that was somewhat of a mentor to me. And he looked at me one day and he says, Brad, do you ever go fishing? And I'm not a fisherman. I never have been. My oldest son is, but I've never been a fisherman. And he says, there's two ways to fish. He says, you can go out there with a single pole and a single hook and bait that hook and throw that out there and, reel it in and hopefully a fish will find it. Or you can go with a bunch of trout lines. You just throw all these lines into the...
They're called trot lines. They're not trout lines. They're TROT. Trot means to run across the water.
Okay, a bunch of trot lines, okay? So in other words, you got multiple hooks out there. And you know what? The chances are that you're going to hook something with multiple hooks out there rather than just one hook. Get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying, Brad. I don't disagree with that. That's a great rationale for that.
And
why, if you claim that this PDF has been out there for a while, how have you been promoting it until now?
Well, that's the interesting thing. It's made sales, and I've done no promotion of it.
But how? And how have people heard about it?
I don't know. And see,
okay, so you posted it on. I think this is important because I think. When you scroll through social media, particularly if you're a young man, you see these things that say, buy this course. We'll teach you how to sell digital products online, no money up front. So, Brad, it appears as though you've done this successfully. So what I think would actually help listeners, instead of a bunch of garrulous, gibbering nonsense, would be for you to provide an idea of, I created this project, I posted it here, I did nothing to promote it, but claim that there were sales. How did that happen, Brad?
Well, I think through the magic of the internet that like, for example, there's some people, I give the perfect example about you, okay? Once again, Shelley Barr, coming back from a chamber meeting. Brad, they talked about this very important website that if you want to know anything about Missouri politics, you should be on this website. I go, what's it? What's the name of the website? She says, johncombest.com. And my response was, who the hell's John Combest? Okay. So John with all your marketing acumen, did you ever think that A, someone in a O'Fallon Chamber of Commerce meeting would mention your website, B,
Yes, I did, of course.
a person
Yeah.
named Shelley Barr would hear it, and C, she would tell Brad Hildebrand about johncombest.com. Okay? That's not...
Yeah, I think it happened for decades. And Brad, I appreciate the anecdote. And let's get back to my question. So how did you, if you claim that you got sales on a guide to being a better kisser, how specifically did you get sales? Because how would possibly someone Google how to be a better kisser? And I'm sure your product ranks page 5,224. So how did people find out about this guide?
I don't know. I mean, see.
So
You're
in other words, we have no advice, no good suggestions of how to give people, of how to build a digital product and then market it.
Oh, I got tons of ideas. You can buy all sorts of Facebook ads. You can buy Meta ads. Now you can buy Reddit's doing. You can buy ads. You can buy ads on Reddit. You can buy ads here. Matter of fact, I don't know if you know this or not. ChatGPT now, if you run the cheap version, the free version, now has ads. Did you know that, John?
I love that. No, I don't use it. I generally use by common sense and then simple Google searches. But I know a lot of people that rely on ChatGPT. That's good for ChatGPT. I'm glad that they're offering advertising there, Brad.
All I will say is I would, and to a certain extent, I'm not the expert at this that you are, but I've done some SEO on this and a couple of these others, and I would just think that somebody, and you're right, it may come up on page number what, blah, 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 but I will tell you a story when YouTube first started really taking off, and I took a course, and you're going to laugh at me when I tell you this, but I took a course, and the guy said, I can show you how you get any product on the front page of a Google search. And to the point where, and matter of fact, when I used to do my seminar, I used to teach out at Logan College Chiropractic, Logan University, where they call it now. I used to give this as an example. I had Dan the Bugman in Washmo, DNR Pest Control, okay? And his son put together a video of all it was a title screen, and it had this sound effect, and it just showed DNR Pest Control, and the DNR Pest Control logo just slowly came to the screen, and as it got right up to the front of the screen, it's zooming in, it went bonk.
And back then, that was good enough to get on page one. What year was that, Brad?
That was probably 10 years ago. It was 2016, okay?
Wow. So 10 years ago, that was effective.
Right. So what happens is they're always screwing with the algorithm. Talk to these...
so that simple mouth breathers that post an idiotic YouTube video can't rank number one. It has to have some actual content and substance to it, is what you're saying.
Okay, perfect example. Okay, I can look at, matter of fact, here, I'll do this right now. I'm going to move over to the studio back here. I'm going to change chairs. I'm going to move across the studio. I got my headset on so people can't even tell I'm moving away from my microphone.
And I have a good radio question if you'll allow us 60 seconds at the end, Brad.
No, go ahead and ask it now while I'm looking this up.
So when you think about it, and you mentioned word of mouth for some of your digital products, if someone asks you, hey, Westplex Talk, you guys have a lot of great national shows. You got a local show. How do people find out about Westplex Talk 1045?
Okay, well, hold on a minute. How do we find out about it? Well,
how do people, other than randomly driving through the Westplex, hitting buttons, so people aren't going to see a billboard, people aren't going to see an advertisement in print. How are people going to find, and unless someone follows you on Facebook, how is someone going to hear about our radio station?
Okay, here, let me do this. Before I answer that question, but just let me give you this. Okay,
sure.
I'm looking at the bjshow.co site, okay? And I'm looking at a statistics page, and I'm seeing top countries, okay? Only 49% of our people who go to the bjshow.co site are from the United States.
Yeah, it's spam. So the rest are spam bots.
10.1% is United Kingdom, 7.9% is Germany, 6% is Netherlands, and 5.3% is France. And there's other people as well.
So it's bots. We get that.
Right. Okay. But once again, but it's to the point. You're making my point. How do those people find out? You say it's bots. It could not necessarily be bots.
It's definitely bots. They're not. The people in the United States come because they're interested in what I have to say.
John, it's interesting because I've had radio geeks from around the country on all of our websites contact me and things like that because of the fact that there are people that are radio freaks that listen to stations from all over the different world and stuff like that. Okay, your question, how do they find out about it? I promote the living crap out of it every day on 8 different social media sites, and I produce videos, which I put out there. They're on YouTube. I do a bunch of that stuff. every single day.
Oh, okay, and that's how we acquire listeners is so they have to be already following you. Like they're not going to see a Westplex Talk Twitter account unless you're one of the 8 followers, right?
No.
So you're not going to. It's not just going to pop. You don't do any advertising, right?
John, I have a conundrum. Okay, I'm going to tell you something that I don't want to sound like I'm flexing. Okay, I have a decision to make, and you know what my decision to make is?
What is?
You know what's happened to me on Facebook?
What's that?
I have 5,000 friends. Okay, do you know why that's an important number?
Yeah, as you've discussed many times on this show, Facebook has a thing because obviously you don't know 5,000 people, but 5,000 people over your long career on Facebook have said, okay, I'm going to follow this guy.
Right.
So you have to make a decision of, and Brad, I'm sure because you pay such close attention to detail, you see how many visitors come to BJ's show or listen or come to YouTube from your Facebook page, right? Or do you think that because you simply post a lot of the same stuff to Facebook, like a generic come listen to our show, do you think that people say, oh my gosh, I got to listen to that episode?
I don't know, John, but I'm out there doing what I can. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, and that's what I'm giving you credit for right now, Brad. I'm asking you, you're an expert in radio, and I'm asking how, other than randomly punching buttons on a radio when you're in the Westplex, how would anyone hear about our station? Now, I know that people in politics know about our show and listen to our show and participate in the discussion because they see it on my website. But if people aren't involved in Missouri politics, how would they ever find out that there's a radio station that does what we do?
John, if you take an advertising course and if the professor is honest, he will tell you that radio, all the other modes of communication are secondary to one important aspect. And you know what that is?
What's that, Brad?
WOM. You know what WOM is?
No, does it stand for word of mouth?
Yes. And when we launched Westplex 1071, you can ask Shelley about this. We did absolutely, positively no promotion other than talking about it at chamber events and things like that. And within like a year, we had tons of listeners to the station. And
How do you know? Do you measure listeners?
Oh, yeah. Matter of fact, Jill was here the other day. She's 5'2" and she's about 120 pounds. And Jim was here and he's 6'1" and weighs about 380.
This was a great educational discussion, and I appreciate your feedback and you teaching me these things.
John, whatever. Okay. And by the way, it's BRAD, all capitals, which everybody knows stands for Blind Rabbits Always Diet. That's what BRAD stands for.
I love it, Brad.
Okay.